Hey all you cool cats and kittens, welcome back to Remote Learning with Miss Corwin. We are going to be continuing our editing of our narrative writing. This is day 2, so let's just jump into it. So the next thing on our to-do list is talking about specific nouns. Remember, a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. So for instance, cat, that's a noun. House, that's a noun. Happiness, that's a noun. So that's what we're talking about when we're saying nouns. So yesterday we learned about how important word choice is for authors, and we practiced adding strong verbs to our writing. And not only do we need to pay attention to those verbs that we write, but we also need to think about using specific nouns. The specific nouns should tell the reader exactly who, what, and where the text is referring to. Otherwise, you're going to have a reader who's going to be getting confused because they're not going to know what you're talking about sometimes. You probably know what you're talking about because it's your story. You were there. You're the one who's writing it. But since you know your story so well, sometimes you might not realize that you're forgetting little pieces of really important information in those stories. So here's an example. It says, if I were to say, she went to the store. You don't know who I'm talking to or like what store I'm talking to, so instead you could say something like Kate went to Build-A-Bear. That's a store. That tells me which store. It tells me who did it. So that's what we're talking about. Instead of saying she, we changed it to Kate. Instead of saying just the store, we said Build-A-Bear. Because in my head, it said she went to the store. The first thing I pictured was like a grocery store. Going to Build-A-Bear, that's a totally different place. So one of your jobs today, you have 2 jobs today. One of your jobs today is to complete slide 4 in your editing phase Google Slides. And that's what this looks like. It says specific nouns. So it says to rewrite these sentences using specific nouns. He went to practice. Who is he? What practice? Does he play baseball? Does he play soccer or basketball? Is he in a play? Is it a play practice? What is he doing? Where's he going? We went to the store. Who's we? You and your family? You and your friends? Who? What store? They ate at the restaurant. Who's they? Is it somebody's family? Is it a group of possums? Who's eating at this restaurant? What restaurant are they eating at? Are they at Chipotle? Are they at Olive Garden? Where are they? Tell me. So there's a couple more examples, and your job is just to use specific nouns to tell me what's going on in these sentences. After that, we're going to look at our own stories and put in some of our own specific nouns. So let me show you what that will look like. All right, so here is my story, and I still have the red highlighted from our strong verbs. Today, you're going to be highlighting in blue, or I shouldn't say highlighting. You're going to be changing the font color to blue. So let's read. Mom, are we there yet? I complained. We had already been driving for hours, and even though there was room to move around, I was tired of not being able to go outside. So I'm going to pause there. Even though there was room to move around, where was there room to move around, Miss Corwin? There was room to move around in the RV. I was in an RV. So I'm going to include that, and I'm going to change that font color to blue. I'm also going to make it bold just so you can see it a little bit better. So I was having lots of fun on this trip across the country, but being stuck in an RV for hours made my brain feel like it was melting. We'll be there soon, Mom replied. I couldn't wait to get there and finally get out of here. Get there? Where is there, Miss Corwin? I have no idea. My readers don't know where that is. What I mean is get to the campsite. So I'm being specific. I'm telling you exactly where I'm going. A lot of times when you're looking for specific nouns, you'll find them with the words like it, there, and like he and she, those kind of words. I could change this here and say get out of this RV if I wanted to, but I've already said it was an RV 2 other times in this paragraph, so I don't think I need to in this case. So let's take a look at the next paragraph. We drove in just as the sun was beginning to set. We drove in. You could gather that we were at the campsite, but I'm going to just say that we drove in. I'm going to change it to into the campsite, just so I know that I'm being specific. Into the campsite. Highlight it, turn it into blue. Just as the sun was beginning to set. Even though it was nearly nighttime, the heat of the day still gripped us and made us feel all hot and sticky. Mom dragged her feet as she made her way from the driver's seat to the bed in the back of the RV. As the sun set and darkness took hold of the campsite, I could hear a symphony of a million crickets just outside. Then, something in the darkness caught my eye. It was something I had never seen before. So, right here is something. I could change that, but I kind of want to leave it there because I want my reader to be surprised as they read what happens next. I don't want to give away what I saw yet. So let's take a look at the next one. Just outside the window, tiny lights hovered in the air and then disappeared. They appeared again. I got my little brother's attention and we looked out at the small blinking lights. We need to get out of here. We need to get out there, I whispered to him. We looked to our mom, lightly snoring on her bed. We snuck lightly to the door and began to open the hatch. A squeak. We glanced at her, nervous of what she would think if she saw us leaving the RV without supervision. So that sentence is a little bit messy to me. We glanced at her, nervous of what she would think if she saw us leaving the RV without supervision. I want to change at least one of those to be specific. Otherwise, it kind of gets a little bit muddled in here. So we could say we glanced at our mom, nervous of what she would think if she saw us leaving the RV. And I think that's the way I'm going to go in this case. I'm going to say we glanced at our mom. Then take that and highlight it in blue text. I'm also going to make it bold. So we glanced at our mom, nervous of what she would think if she saw us sneaking out of the RV without supervision. That seems better to me. Her body shifted, but she stayed asleep. We opened the door and the smell of fresh rain filled our noses as we stepped out. I'm going to say that's good to go. Let's look at the next one. My heart beat faster with the excitement of sneaking out of the RV. As we stepped outside, I could taste the trees that surrounded us. Taste the trees. What kind of trees? This is a case where you can be specific because different kind of trees kind of have a different kind of smell to them. In this case, I remember they were pine trees. So I'm going to say I could taste the pine trees around us. I could taste the pine trees that surrounded us. The soft glow of the mysterious lights was above us, and I realized that they were fireflies. They're beautiful, I whispered to my brother. We stood in the dark. The only light we saw was from them dancing in the air around us. The only light we saw was from them dancing in the air. I don't like the way that sounds. I'm going to say the only light we saw was from the fireflies. From the fireflies dancing in the air. Because I don't want my readers to forget that I'm talking about fireflies. I've only mentioned that once in my whole story so far. So the only light we saw was from the fireflies dancing in the air around us. We stood in the dark with the fireflies for what felt like hours. Then we tiptoed back into the RV before our mom woke up. So look at the next paragraph. As I lay down in my bed that night, the butterflies in my stomach danced just as the fireflies outside had. I thought I would be awake all night watching the fireflies from the window. I hadn't even realized I had fallen asleep until she woke me up with a soft, "You ready to go to the next state?" So I'm going to pause. For she? Who is she here? I know that it's my mom, and you might be able to figure out that it's my mom, but it's just so much more clear when you just straight up tell me. I hadn't even realized I had fallen asleep until my mom woke me up with a soft start. So change it to blue, make it bold so I can see it. I rubbed my eyes and looked around. The fireflies were gone, and the sun was shining in through the glass window. The RV pulled out of the campsite and we were off. As we drove away from the campsite, I hoped that I would see a million other new things that made me just excited as those little fireflies did that night. So I'm going to say that's good. I have at least 5 in here. I have 2 in that paragraph, 1 in this one, so it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Your stories might have a lot more than that. They might have just the 5, but the goal is to find 5 places where you can include specific nouns. So your job today, you have 2 jobs, is to complete slide number 4 in your editing phase slides. Then in your first draft of your narrative writing document, read through it and look for places where you can put specific nouns. Find at least 1 per paragraph. If you can't find 1 per paragraph, try to find 5 at least. And then, instead of coloring them red, color the new, it shouldn't say verb here, it should say new specific nouns. Color the new specific nouns blue. I will be looking for those blue nouns, not verbs. I'm looking for nouns. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm always here to help you out. But that's all I've got for you today, and I will see you on Monday. Thanks, everybody.